What happens when a member of the British royal family completely loses his composure on live television and starts a heated argument that ends with security being called? Well, that's exactly what went down when Prince Harry appeared on CBS this morning for what was supposed to be a routine interview about his latest charitable endeavors. Instead, viewers witnessed one of the most uncomfortable and explosive celebrity meltdowns ever caught on camera. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. And by the end, Prince Harry was literally being escorted off the set. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because this story is absolutely wild from start to finish. The morning started like any other at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York. The familiar blue and white set of CBS this morning was perfectly lit with co-hosts Gayle King, Tony Duquesne, and Nate Burleson reviewing their notes for the day's lineup. Prince Harry was scheduled to appear in the 8:30 slot to discuss his new mental health initiative targeting veterans, a cause close to his heart given his own military service. Good morning, I'm Gayle King. I'm Tony Duquesne. And I'm Nate Burles, and this is CBS This Morning. Coming up in our next segment, we're joined by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, to talk about his groundbreaking new program supporting veterans' mental health services. The cameras rolled as Prince Harry walked onto the set, looking composed in his navy blue suit and crisp white shirt. He shook hands with each host, his signature charming smile in place as he settled into the guest chair across from the three anchors. Prince Harry, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Gayle began warmly. Tell us about this new initiative you're launching. Thank you for having me, Gayle. This program is something I'm incredibly passionate about. We're looking at providing comprehensive mental health support for veterans who are struggling with the transition back to civilian life. Too many of our heroes are suffering in silence, and we need to change that narrative. Tony leaned forward. You've been very open about your own struggles with mental health, particularly after losing your mother. How does that personal experience inform this work? Prince Harry's expression grew more serious. My mother's death was devastating, as you can imagine. For years, I didn't deal with that grief properly, and it affected every aspect of my life. If I, with all my privileges and resources, struggled to get help, imagine what it's like for a veteran coming home with trauma and no support system. Nate, who had been quietly listening, suddenly interjected with a question that seemed to catch everyone off guard. Prince Harry, I have to ask, and I hope you don't mind me being direct here, but there's been a lot of criticism about your family's recent projects and media appearances. Some people are saying that you and Meghan are using your royal titles for personal gain, while simultaneously criticizing the institution that gave you those titles. How do you respond to those who say you can't have it both ways? The temperature in the studio seemed to drop several degrees. Prince Harry's jaw tightened slightly, but he maintained his composure. I think that's a rather simplistic way of looking at it. 8. My wife and I stepped back from our senior royal duties precisely because we wanted to forge our own path and use our platform for causes we believe in without the constraints and protocols that come with being working royals. But you're still using the Duke and Duchess titles, aren't you? Nate pressed. You're still trading on that royal connection while criticizing the very system that gave you those titles in the first place. Gayle shot a concerned glance at Tony, clearly sensing the tension building. Nate, maybe we should focus on the mental health initiative. No, it's fine, Gayle, Prince Harry said, his voice taking on a sharper edge. I think it's important to address these misconceptions, Nate. With all due respect, I don't think you fully understand the complexities of what my wife and I have been through. The media's scrutiny, the lack of support from the institution, the impact on our mental health, and our family safety. Nate leaned back in his chair, clearly not backing down. I understand that celebrity comes with scrutiny, but isn't that part of the territory? You were born into arguably the most privileged position in the world. Many people would say that with that privilege comes responsibility, including dealing with media attention. Privileged position. Prince Harry's voice rose slightly. Do you think it's a privilege to have your mother chased to her death by paparazzi? Do you think it's a privilege to watch your wife receive death threats and racist abuse, while your own family does nothing to protect her? The studio fell silent except for the hum of cameras still rolling. Gale attempted to intervene again. Perhaps we should take a moment. And answer, Prince Harry said, his eyes fixed intently on the former NFL player turned broadcaster. Since he seems to have such strong opinions about my family's choices, I'd like to know where he gets his expertise on royal protocol and constitutional matters. Nate remained calm but firm. I don't claim to be an expert on royal protocol, Prince Harry, but I am a journalist and it's my job to ask difficult questions. The American system failed to protect my family. I consistently chose their well-being over institutional loyalty. The conversation was spiraling, and everyone in the studio could feel it. Tony attempted to redirect. Prince Harry, let's get back to the veterans program. But Prince Harry wasn't done. You know what, Nate? I find it interesting that you, someone who made millions playing a game, someone who transitioned from sports to media when it suited your career, would question my choices about how to use my platform for good. Nate's expression hardened. That's completely different, and you know it. I earned everything I got through hard work and talent. I didn't inherit my position or my wealth. Earned everything. Prince Harry scoffed. You think I haven't earned anything? You think growing up in the public eye, losing my mother at 12, serving in Afghanistan, dealing with PTSD, watching my wife get torn apart by your colleagues in the media, you think none of that counts as earning the right to speak out? The tension was becoming unbearable. Gale made another attempt to calm things down. Gentlemen, I think we're getting a bit off track here. No, Gale, I think this is exactly where we need to be, Prince Harry said, his voice now carrying a dangerous edge. Because this is what always happens. Someone like Nate, who knows nothing about my life or my family situation, sits there and judges us from his comfortable position, throwing around accusations about privilege and consistency without understanding the first thing about what we've been through. Nate wasn't backing down either. Prince Harry, I'm not judging you personally, but I am asking legitimate questions that millions of people want answered. You can't expect to put yourself in the public eye, do interviews, write books, make documentaries, and then get upset when people ask tough questions about your choices and motivations. Tough questions? Prince Harry laughed bitterly. Is that what you call this ambush? Because that's what this feels like, Nate. I came here to talk about helping veterans, and you've turned this into some kind of trial about my personal life and my family's decisions. The situation was deteriorating rapidly, and production staff behind the cameras were beginning to look nervous. The interview that was supposed to last 8 minutes had already gone on for nearly 15, and it was becoming increasingly hostile. The studio lights seemed to burn brighter as the confrontation reached a boiling point. Prince Harry stood up from his chair, his hands clenched at his sides, while Nate remained seated but leaning forward, clearly not intimidated by the royals' rising anger. You know what, Nate? Prince Harry continued, his voice now carrying a cutting tone that seemed to slice through the studio air. I've sat through hundreds of interviews with journalists who at least had the decency to do their homework before attempting to psychoanalyze my life choices. But you're sitting there making assumptions based on tabloid headlines and social media gossip. Nate's jaw tightened. I've done my homework, Prince Harry. I've read your book. I've watched your interviews, and I've seen the documentaries. And what I see is someone who wants to have his cake and eat it too. You want the benefits of being royal when it suits you, and you want to play the victim when it doesn't. Victim. Prince Harry's voice cracked with indignation. My wife contemplated suicide because of the treatment she received. And you're calling us victims? My son will never meet his great-grandmother because of the lies and hatred spread by people like you in the media. And you think I'm playing victim? Gayle King looked absolutely mortified, glancing desperately at the control room. Gentlemen, please, we need to. No, Gayle. Prince Harry snapped, whirling around to face her. I'm tired of being polite. I'm tired of sitting here and taking this kind of disrespect from someone who clearly has an agenda. Tony Docupel tried to inject some calm into the situation. Prince Harry, I think what Nate is trying to say is, I can speak for myself, Tony. Nate interrupted sharply. And what I'm trying to say is that accountability matters. You can't spend years criticizing your family publicly, making serious allegations about racism and neglect, taking millions from Netflix and Spotify to tell your side of the story, and then get upset when people ask you to back up your claims with specifics. Prince Harry's face was turning red. Specifics? You want specifics? How about the fact that when my wife was struggling with her mental health, she was told by palace officials that seeking help would reflect poorly on the institution? How about the fact that security was removed from my family despite credible threats, because we were no longer senior working royals? How about the conversations about my son's skin color before he was even born? But you won't name names, will you? Nate shot back. You make these explosive allegations, but then hide behind vague references and anonymous sources. If these things really happen the way you claim, why not provide the proof? Why not name the people involved? Because unlike you, Nate, I still have some loyalty to my family despite everything they've put us through, Prince Harry shouted. Because I still believe that some things should remain private, even when that privacy hasn't been extended to me or my wife. You're a public figure who's made serious allegations against one of the world's most respected institutions. Of course, you're going to be asked to defend those statements. Respected institutions? Prince Harry laughed bitterly. Is that what you call an organization that drove my mother to her death, and then tried to do the same thing to my wife? An institution that cares more about protecting pedophiles than protecting the people who actually try to modernize it. The studio fell deadly silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Nate's eyes widened at the explosive accusation. That's a very serious allegation, Prince Harry, Nate said quietly. Are you really going to sit there on live television and accuse the royal family of protecting pedophiles? I'm stating facts, Nate. My Uncle Andrew was given support and protection while my wife was hung out to dry. The priorities were pretty clear to anyone paying attention. Nate shook his head in disbelief. You're comparing getting tough press coverage to allegations of criminal behavior. Don't you see how that undermines your credibility? My credibility? Prince Harry's voice reached a new level of fury. Who are you to question my credibility? What have you ever sacrificed for anyone? What have you ever given up to stand up for what's right? You sit there in your comfortable studio job asking tough questions for ratings, while I gave up everything to protect my family. You gave up everything? Nate countered, his own anger finally showing. You moved to a mansion in California. You signed multi-million-dollar deals with streaming services. And you're still using your royal titles to open doors. That's not giving up everything. That's monetizing your family drama. The words hit Prince Harry like a physical blow. His face went pale, then immediately flushed with rage. How dare you? How dare you sit there and reduce my family's pain to a business transaction? You have no idea what we've been through, what we've lost, what we've had to sacrifice. Then tell us. Nate shouted back. Stop speaking in riddles and vague accusations. If you want people to understand your side, then be specific. Give us facts, not emotional manipulation. Prince Harry took a step closer to Nate, his hands shaking with anger. You want facts? Here's a fact for you. Your network, your colleagues, your industry destroyed my mother. They chased her through the streets of Paris like animals. And when she died, they profited from her death for decades. And now you have the audacity to sit there and lecture me about my choices. That's not fair, and you know it, Nate replied, standing his ground despite Prince Harry's aggressive posture. I wasn't even in journalism when your mother died. You can't hold me responsible for what happened 27 years ago. But you're part of the same system, Prince Harry screamed. You're part of the same media machine that turns people's lives into entertainment. You're doing it right now, turning this interview into a spectacle for ratings. Tony Dupiel finally found his voice. Prince Harry, I think you need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Prince Harry spun around to face Tony. None of you understand what it's like to have your life dissected, analyzed, and criticized by people who've never walked in your shoes. None of you understand what it's like to watch your wife suffer while the world judges her for existing. Gail was frantically signaling to the control room, but Prince Harry caught her gesture. Oh, now you want to cut away, he said with bitter sarcasm. Now that your colleague has pushed me to the breaking point, you want to protect your precious broadcast. Where was this concern when he was attacking my family? Nate stepped forward again, his jaw set with determination. Nobody attacked your family, Prince Harry. I asked legitimate questions that you clearly can't answer without losing your temper. Maybe that should tell you something about the strength of your position. The strength of my position. Prince Harry's voice was now barely controlled fury. My position is that I chose my wife and children over an institution that cares more about its image than the people who serve it. My position is that I'd rather be criticized by people like you than complicit in a system that destroys innocent people for the sake of tradition. And yet you're still using that system's titles and prestige to build your brand. Nate shot back relentlessly. You can't have it both ways. Prince Harry, you can't condemn the monarchy while still trading on being the Duke of Sussex. That was the final straw. Prince Harry's composure completely shattered. You know what, Nate? I've had enough of this. I've had enough of your sanctimonious questions, your false moral superiority, and your complete inability to show basic human decency. The prince began pulling off his wireless microphone, his hands shaking with rage. This interview is over. I came here in good faith to talk about helping veterans, and you turned it into an inquisition. Congratulations. You got your viral moment. I hope it was worth it. But Nate wasn't done. As Prince Harry started to walk away, the broadcaster called after him, forward, not physically attacking, but moving so aggressively toward Nate that security personnel immediately stepped onto the set. His face was contorted with rage as he pointed directly at the broadcaster. You have no right to talk to me about running away. No right, Prince Harry screamed, his voice cracking with emotion. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan while you were playing games for entertainment. I walked behind my mother's coffin when I was 12 years old while the world watched. Don't you dare talk to me about running away. Gayle King was now standing desperately trying to regain control. We need to go to commercial right now. No, Prince Harry shouted, whirling around to face her. Let everyone see this. Let them see what your network considers journalism. Let them see how you treat people who come here trying to do good. 2 security guards had positioned themselves between Prince Harry and Nate. But the prince continued his tirade, seemingly oblivious to their presence. You want to know about running away, Nate? I'll tell you about running away. Running away is staying silent while your wife contemplates suicide. Running away is pretending everything is fine while your family throws you under the bus. Running away is letting the institution that destroyed your mother destroy your wife, too. Prince Harry, you need to calm down. One of the security guards said firmly but respectfully. Don't tell me to calm down. Prince Harry snapped at the guard before turning his attention back to Nate. And you, sitting there with your smug expression. Thinking you've won some kind of victory, you haven't exposed anything except your own cruelty and lack of basic human empathy. Nate, still standing behind the security barrier, shook his head. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Prince Harry. The minute someone asks you tough questions, you lose control and start attacking everyone around you. This isn't the behavior of someone who's confident in their choices. Tough questions? Prince Harry laughed manically. Those weren't tough questions, Nate. Those were character assassinations disguised as journalism. There's a difference, though. I don't expect someone with your limited understanding of nuance to grasp that. Tony Durpil had moved closer to Gale, both hosts looking absolutely shell-shocked by what was unfolding. The control room was frantically trying to decide whether to cut the feed, but the raw drama was so compelling that they hesitated. You know what the real tragedy is here, Prince Harry continued, his voice now taking on a bitter, almost philosophical tone as the security guards gently but firmly began guiding him toward the edge of the set. The real tragedy is that I came here to talk about helping veterans deal with mental health issues, and instead you've provided a perfect example of exactly the kind of treatment that drives people to the breaking point. Are you seriously comparing this interview to mental health trauma? Nate asked incredulously. Are you really that out of touch with reality? The question seemed to ignite a new level of fury in Prince Harry. He struggled against the security guard's gentle restraint, not violently, but with obvious frustration. Out of touch with reality. You're asking me if I'm out of touch with reality. You sit in this sterile studio every morning reading from teleprompters and pretending efforts to help others into opportunities for humiliation and attack. As they reached the edge of the set, Prince Harry made one final statement that would be replayed countless times in the days to come. My mother always said that the monarchy's greatest enemy wasn't Republicans or revolutionaries. It was the media's insatiable appetite for destruction disguised as public interest. Today, Nate Burles proved her right. With that, Prince Harry was escorted off the set, leaving behind a studio in complete chaos. Gale King looked devastated. Tony Dupe appeared to be in shock, and Nate Burleson sat in his chair, his face a mixture of defiance and uncertainty. The cameras kept rolling for several more seconds, capturing the aftermath of one of the most explosive interviews in television history. Finally, mercifully, they cut to commercial, but the damage was already done. The interview that was supposed to last 8 minutes had stretched to nearly 30. And what was meant to be a routine promotional appearance had become a defining moment that would be analyzed, debated, and remembered for years to come. In those final moments before the commercial break, viewers could see Nate Burles sitting alone at the anchor desk, perhaps finally realizing the magnitude of what had just occurred, while Gale King and Tony Dupe huddled together, clearly trying to process the unprecedented breakdown they had just witnessed. What started as a simple morning show interview had become something much more significant. A raw, unfiltered glimpse into the pain and anger of someone who had been pushed too far by a system that seemed designed to destroy rather than understand. And that's exactly what happened when Prince Harry completely lost his composure on live television, creating one of the most unforgettable moments in broadcasting history. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more incredible stories like this one.